welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be doing a special review on the ZWO-ASI camera. Now we have been sent two cameras. One of them is the ZWO-ASI 678MC and the other one is the ASI 662. And we're really going to look into the differences to see what's better, what would be your personal preference. We're going to see the differences between the two cameras, which in regards to field of view, in regards to the speed and how good the sensor is. And we're also going to take it into post-processing later on in the video, so make sure you stay tuned for it. But first, I would like to take a look at the contents of the ASI 678. As you can see, it has the cable that it comes with where you can connect your PC to the camera. You can also connect it wirelessly if you would like to, using the ZWO-ASAIR system, which I currently don't have, but those of you who do have it, you could connect it through Wi-Fi and it will still work fine. And here is the camera itself. Comes wrapped in plastic. It has a lens as well, with a lens cap on top of it. Now this part itself is actually able to be taken off, as you can see here. Here's the sensor right there, and what you do to actually put it on your telescope itself is it actually comes with a 1.25 inch adapter for you to just go ahead and screw into the sensor and put inside of your telescope. So it's very easy to use, very easy to set up, and I'm looking forward to taking it outside to check it out.
Alright, so here we are outside. As you can see, I have my 6-inch Dobsonian from the Orion company. Here I have it actually already pointing at the Jupiter planet. I have my eyepiece in here, made sure that my Dobsonian telescope was already collimated. Basically, collimation, if you don't know what that is, it's basically just the alignment of the mirrors so that you can have a perfect, sharp, precise image in your eyepiece. Also, you need to make sure that before you do this, if you do not have an automatic go-to telescope, you have to make sure your guide scope is also very much centered. And it's typically best if you do that throughout the day. Thankfully, because my guide scope was already almost centered, I was able to do it easily just using the Jupiter planet. But like I said, it's obviously best if you just do it during the day, perhaps at basically a lamppost or a tree that's very far away. It's easiest to center on because it's a non-moving object. You don't have to worry about trying to track it throughout the night sky like I did with Jupiter. But I do have it focused now. It's properly collimated, everything's ready to go. So let's take out our ZWO-ASI camera and get it set up. Alright, I now have my ASI camera plugged into my laptop or PC. Obviously, you don't have to have it directly connected with a wire to your PC if you own the ASI, ASAIR, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, device, which will automatically transmit the image that you're seeing from the camera to your laptop or computer, or even your smartphone. I'm pretty sure it's also to your smartphone. You can just easily transmit the images just through Wi-Fi. So it's obviously easier if you have that because you don't have to be right next to it, but obviously it's fine if you don't have an automatic go-to telescope like I do. Sorry, I don't have an automatic go-to. This is a manual Dobsonian. I do not have an auto go-to yet. Obviously, planetary astrophotography is going to be much easier if you do have a automatic go-to telescope. It'll be much easier to track objects and you'll be able to get more frames, which in turn will lead to a better image. But if you're going to use this camera, make sure that you have the ASI Studio downloaded. You can find that on the ZWO website. And you have to make sure you have ASI Video Stack and ASI Cap for planetary imaging if you're planning on using a planetary camera. Now, make sure that you click the open button here and you'll be able to start seeing the first images. To go ahead and open this up, and to start seeing through the camera itself, all you have to do is press this play button, allow it to load, and here is your first image. Now obviously, in regards to video, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set it to no limit if you are using a manual telescope. That way you can start recording and stop whenever you please. If you have an automatic go-to, obviously you can set it to as many frames as you want. Again, it makes it so much easier like that. There's a shoot photo button and the video button. You can change the amount of saturation, brightness, contrast, and gamma that you have with this as well. Also, you have the automatic exposure control. Again, this is good if you're using an automatic telescope, but if you're using a manual one, obviously you would probably want to keep it down to the least amount of exposure as possible, just because these objects are very bright, and unless you're using a filter, it will end up being overexposed. Now, of course, longer exposures are fine. You can use a planetary camera in regards to deep sky imaging. Obviously, it's not made for that, but it is possible to use it for that. But of course, it's recommended if you just use it for planetary, since it is a planetary camera. Of course, ZWO also does sell its own deep sky imaging cameras as well, so you should check those out on the website. It's in the link below. Now, obviously, I'm going to want to find, let's see, what are we going to look at first? Let's look at the moon first, just as an example. Let me turn down the exposure as much as possible. I turn it down to about, let's see, 340 milliseconds. That should be okay. Leave the gain at auto, should be alright. And now, because my finder scope is aligned, I can just find the moon in my finder scope, and you will see it display on the screen here. So let me just find that real quick. Alright, as you can see, the exposure is still overexposed, so let's turn this down and turn down the gain as well, as low as possible. So as you can see, the moon is right here, clearly not in focus. We can actually turn down this exposure even more to about 100 milliseconds. Lower that down as much as possible. And now we want to make sure we focus our image. Okay, I adjusted the telescope just a little bit so that the moon is now in the image. And now what we want to do is focus it. So we can just turn the knobs here to make sure it's focused. Just turn them in and out until you receive perfect focus. As you can see, it's still a bit overexposed, but let me recenter it one more time. All right, there we go. It is now centered. Let's turn on this exposure even more. Not too much, obviously, but there we go. As you can see here, we have a crystal clear image of the moon. Now, because it's moving, obviously lunar photography is not going to be as easy as planetary photography would be, because you have more time as the planet kind of moves across the screen. Here, the moon is moving rather quickly. If you want to use it, just press the start button. Make sure that you have your own point here that you keep an eye on until it eventually moves out of the screen, so that you can use that as kind of a focal point for your astrophotography image when you take it into programs like ASI Cap, or pretty sure it's Auto Stacker, or Planetary Imaging Preprocessor as well. I finally got that name right. So once you're happy with your selection, obviously press the stop button, and then you can go ahead and move on to your next object. But honestly, if you ask me, this image right here, just by itself, you could take some pictures, just like that. Just pictures, just normal pictures. And the clarity that we have here, obviously once it's perfectly focused. Also, another thing that ZWO sells is an autofocuser, so it'll focus by itself, leaving you with a very sharp image. My focusing isn't perfect, but it's still pretty good. The clarity of the image that we see here is very impressive for this planetary camera. A lot of planetary cameras on the market don't even reach anywhere close to this amount of clarity. Obviously, this is the ASI, let me check. This is the ASI 662MC. I'd also like to see what the other camera can do, which we have right here. It is the ASI 678MC. We're going to check this one out in just a little bit. But you know what, why don't we check out the moon right now with that telescope. So this is the 662MC. Let's see what the 678MC can do with a ZWO, with a 6-inch Dobsonian. Let's just take this out. Let's click OK here. Close this out and reopen it. As you can see, it now says ZWO ASI 678MC. We press the play button. Let's now recenter back on the moon so we can see the kind of difference that we have here. So there we go. There's the moon. Obviously, this one's much brighter. I guess I had to reset the amount of gain and everything we have here. So let's lower this down. There we go. And as you can see, the ASI 678 does not have as high of a zoom. The pixelation here is much more clear than the 662, I believe it was. But the one thing that we do have to appreciate about the 662 is the fact that we do have a higher amount of zoom, which means that in planets such as Uranus or Neptune, if you were to find that with your 6-inch Dobsonian or your auto go-to telescope, you will get a much better image. Of course, with this one, you could always use a Barlow lens potentially. Make sure if you are to use a Barlow lens on that, you need to make sure you have a good high quality glass for that Barlow lens. Otherwise, your image could come out looking very chromatic and somewhat warped, which is not something you're going to want in planetary photography. But now it's time to check out our first planet. As you can see, with this one, we have very nice detail. Edges are very, very sharp. Honestly, so far, I am honestly preferring the ASI 678 in regards to what we can do with the moon. Let's take a picture here. Just like that. All right, and we can also record a video potentially if we wanted to take that into processing later on. But let's stop that and take a look at our first planet. First one I'm going to center on is the planet Jupiter. It is actually near opposition at this point in time. All I have to do is lower it down just a little bit until we find that in the picture. And we need to make sure we turn up our exposure just a little bit, just so we can see it here. As you can see, Jupiter is now centered in our screen. And again, look at the amount of clarity that we have here. Obviously, I'm not completely in focus. Let me just try to fix that a tiny bit. There we go. We are now focused on Jupiter, and it is a very good image. You can even see here, if you take a look at that, you can actually see, I believe, the moon here, even perhaps a shadow here on the planet itself. So let's zoom out. What I'm going to do for this now is I'm actually going to center it one more time to the bottom, and I'm going to record some frames with this to take it on to processing later on with this camera. So let's check this out. Now I'm obviously going to do this several times because I want to get as many frames as possible. So let me recenter it again and allow it to record one more time. Alright, so we've seen an example of Jupiter with this camera. Now let's switch back to the 662, again, I believe it was, see what it can do with that. So let me remove this again. Alright, the other one is now connected. Let's open this back up. And press the play button here. Obviously I'm going to want far less exposures. Let's move this around. Obviously, we have a much better zoom here. Let's kind of bump up this exposure time. And there we go. We have a perfect image of Jupiter here. As you can see, it's very sharp and very clean. But of course, what I want to do is I want to make sure I center it so I can get another good video here. So let me center this real quick. And we're basically going to run through the same process. I'm going to show you the example of all the different videos that we get put in together, combined, so we can get the best amount of detail as possible. But so far what we see from the 662 is actually very, very good in regards to detail, and for imaging, 662 is obviously going to be best if you don't use a manual telescope because you can auto track it. Obviously it's going to move out of the frame much quicker because the 662 has a much smaller field of view, allowing for you to see higher details. Of course, it all depends on which telescope that you have. They have a lot of different planetary cameras, but you really need to check out the amount of focal length you have and what the aperture size is of your telescope when you decide to pick out your planetary camera. But let's go through the same process as last time, get these different videos, and we'll stack them later on. After this, of course, we're going to move to Saturn and try to get some images of that. So let's check this out. Now also, if you keep an eye on the histogram here, you'll start to see when the planet starts coming into view, just as long as you have an idea of where it's going to show up. If you keep an eye on this histogram, and once you start seeing the histogram lines start to change drastically, that's when you know you can start the recording if you're using a manual telescope. Of course, if you're using auto guiding, again, it's going to be fine. But with manual, this is a quick little trick that you can use if you're trying to find out when your planet is going to come into view. So make sure that you keep an eye on this histogram whenever you're trying to find your planetary. Alright, so there we have it with Jupiter. Now I'm interested in what the 662 can actually do with Saturn. Obviously Saturn is not as bright as Jupiter, as of course you all know that Jupiter is very near opposition. It's going to go to opposition on November 2nd to 3rd. For everyone who's not aware, perhaps I might release this video before that happens, so you'll be able to check it out yourself. Let's go to Saturn now. Obviously it's not as bright, so that's why I turned up the exposure time a little bit. So let's check that out now. I'm just going to turn it around to this way. Getting pretty close. All right, there we have Saturn. Now I'm going to turn the exposure up just a bit more because it's not quite enough. And here we have Saturn right here, as you can see. Again, very detailed, very nice video. But let me make sure I center it again so that we can record more video time and take it into a program later on for processing. But obviously, what I want to say for 662, obviously it looks a little bit more pixelated. Perhaps it's not the perfect focal length for that camera, but the amount of detail that we can see here nonetheless, and the amount of coloration is honestly absolutely amazing. So of course, what you want to keep in mind is that the 662 is a perfect choice for if you're planning on doing up close planetary photography. Of course, you could use a 678 if you're going to use a Barlow lens, but 662 is a great camera choice if you do not plan on using a Barlow lens. But as I said, make sure that you do your research and find out which camera is best for your telescope size. But let me move this to the center and we'll start recording video. Again, another thing that you want to check out here in the control is if you go to the control, you can also change the amount of speed that we have here. Obviously, I'm going to put it on high speed. You can change the flip depending on, obviously, if your telescope's in equatorial mode. There's some things that you might want to change out. I'm going to leave everything alone except for the high speed. I'm going to turn on the brightness just a little bit and hit OK. You can also turn on the timestamp and everything, but I'm just going to leave everything off for now except for the high speed. Let me move it back to Saturn. Alright, so we've seen Saturn now with the 662 camera. Let's check it out with the 678. Obviously, I'm going to want to change my exposure time back down a little bit because it's not as high of a zoom. So let me just set it to here. Let's now check out Saturn with the 678 camera. Alright, as you see, I now have the 678 installed. Let's hit the play button and find Saturn real quick. Alright, obviously Saturn is much easier to find in this camera due to the fact that, you know, it's a much smaller field of view. Let's turn the exposure time up. Bring up the gain some as well. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and center it now so we can start recording video on this. Alright, as you can see, Saturn is now centered, so let's go ahead and hit the record button here to start gathering data for our next processing. Of course, I'm not going to show the entire stacking process because that could take, honestly, several hours to do. Honestly, it will take a very long time, 30 to 40 minutes just for stacking, just like about 100 images. But since we're obviously taking much more exposure time, it's going to take much longer than that. But look at the amount of detail that we have here. With the 678 MC. Obviously you have a nice coloration. The amount of detail we have on the rings is very nice, very beautiful. It's very sharp. I'm very happy with how it looks. So in regards to the ASI 678, at least with my 6-inch Dobsonian, I definitely say that it's a 10 out of 10. I'm very much looking forward to what we can do with the data that we're gathering here. I'm sure that we'll be able to get a very nice image, so I'm very excited to see how it all comes out. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue collecting the data to process it later on. So let's just continue doing that. One thing I do want everyone to remember is that if you see this pixelation in regards to live view, don't allow that to kind of put you off. What this does, it obviously fixes. This is a result of the AVI recording. And this is definitely going to be fixed in regards to the post-processing once you take it into programs like Planetary Imaging Preprocessor and Auto Stacker. Once it divides the frames and stacks them all together, it's going to get rid of that pixelation and leave you with a nice and clean image. Now, I've gotten a lot of videos, used up a lot of storage on my computer, so let's go ahead and take this inside and start doing some processing on it and see what we can do with that. Obviously, I'm not going to show the entire stacking time because it's going to take forever, as I mentioned just a little bit earlier, but I will definitely show you know, the whole process in regards to leading up to that. So let's go ahead and bring this inside and show what we can do with it. All right, now that we are inside, let's go ahead and let's do some of the post-processing. Obviously, first things first, if you have a hard time finding your images, what you're going to want to do is you're just going to go to your Windows and type in ASI cap. And that's where your videos are going to be stored if you record AVI videos. So let's open this file location. Obviously, that's not the right location. Let's try that one more time. ASI cap. And open that. And here it is. You'll see capture objects. And here are all of the videos that were recorded. You click here in 928, and this is where the AVI videos were recorded. As you can see, it recorded them all as PNG files instead of the AVI videos, and that is okay because we can actually still work with this. What we're going to do for this actually is we're going to take these files, we're going to sort these. Let's go ahead and sort this to type, and we're going to copy all of these PNG files. As you can see, we have images of the moon, just like that. Actually, I believe this is only of the moon. Let's find the Jupiter and Saturn. Hopefully it's in here somewhere. No, these are all still of the moon. Let's try to find that video. I'm sure it's here somewhere. Oh yeah, here are the AVI videos. This is what we were looking for. I was not looking for the images. Of course, images of the moon are very nice to look at if you just want to look at it like this. Very nice, very clean, very detailed. But what I'm trying to do is AVI videos stacking. So here's the moon, ones that we have. Obviously, you can see the big difference here in regards to field of view, in regards to 226 and the, in regards to the 678 and the 662 is what I meant to say. So here is the 678 versus the 662. Obviously a big difference in the field of view, but these are both very nice images either way. Obviously, if you plan on doing planetary photography, you need to make sure that you have a lot of storage space available because each of these different video files have quite a lot, and I mean a lot of storage. So with these, as you can see, we have the Saturn image loading right here. It's very bright, unfortunately. That's somewhat strange, but of course that's going to be fixed in regards once you take it in for processing. So let me just take these videos, make sure I have each one correct. I'm going to open up PIPP, and what's this going to do is it's going to take all of the files that we have here. Of course, you need to make sure that you have the same size in regards to the different planets. Obviously, you want to have the same amount of field of view for each image. So here's Jupiter. Let's put this one here. Let's close out of that. Move this one over because it's the same field of view. See what else we have. I have the, okay, let me check which ones I have here. Are the videos that it's supposed to be that are all Jupiter. So let's just go ahead and take these apart. Obviously, we're going to do the processing. Make sure the quality options are as good as possible. Let's see what we have here in regards to settings. Let's see. Input options. Enable raw hot pixel. Okay, great. Now output, which you want to make sure that you use for auto stackered, which is what I'm going to be using. I prefer to use this instead of the ASI Studio since this is what I'm most familiar with. I used to use the fits and do processing. Honestly, this won't take too long. It won't take as long as the auto stackered, but it will still take a while. Now, as you can see here, we have 1,296 image files. We're going to open this up again and do another process. So let's go ahead and move those to the side since we already used these. We use those 3. Let's do 6 now. Let's do 0. Obviously, we want to have optimized options for planetary. We have, 6, 0, and 0 again. And that should be it. All right, let's go to output options again. Fits, do processing, and start processing once again. Obviously, it's not as many frames as the other one because it is a smaller field of view, so we didn't get to get as many frames. Obviously, this is going to take quite a while. Let's do our processing options, see source files. I forgot to do the planetary, but that should be okay either way. Let's kind of move that to the side. We're going to do the other ones as well, and that should be it. Let's see, 0, 3, 7, 6. Yes, it's only those two. Let's do planetary again. Do processing and start the processing. Go to PIPP. That's not what I meant to say. All right, and let's do our last images here. Should be 0, 1. Now, once these are all finished, we're going to take them into auto stacker and allow that to start stacking, and I'll show you guys how to do that as well. All right, so before I show you the finished product of each of these different files that we have here, let me show you how to use the auto stacker program in regards to the processing of these planets here. So obviously we're going to open up the program auto stacker. I have mine in my downloads folder. I have not properly installed it. Here it is. Let's go ahead and move it to the side. All right, close out of that. All right, here is the auto stackered program. Now, what we do here is we open this, right? We're going to go to Jupiter. I believe one of these are actually still, okay, no, that is now completed, so that's good. All right, so let's go ahead and go to PIPP. As you can see, everything's still trying to load correctly. We're gonna select literally all of the files in here and drag them to here. Okay, honestly, it should work fine like this. So if we go to our desktop, we go to our Jupiter files, we switch this to fits, image fits, okay, PIPP. We have all of our fits files here. We go ahead and select all of them. We open that, and we continue doing that through all of these, right? So let's go ahead and go through each of them. Let's open PIPP, and we select all of these. Remember to get all of your files. You don't want to miss even one. Okay, so what I've learned is it's actually best if you just rename all of them, because if you use PIPP, it will name each of your files all the same. So if you go ahead and it's very easy. You select all, rename, and you just type in a random letter, and there you go. It will automatically rename all of them to that letter and change the numbers as well. You cut and you paste it into these folders here, and there you go. It's very fast, obviously. As you can see, I've already finished. Let's go ahead and delete these files. You can actually just try this again. Let me close this. Try again. Right. Now what we can do is we can reopen the auto stackered program. So how do we do that? We go to our files. Of course, at least this is on mine. And just go ahead and open it very easily like that. Next, we go ahead and select literally all of our files here. Very easy. And drag it here. As you can see, we now have all of our frames. We have 2042. What do we do now? We hit the open button. Obviously, make sure your image stabilization is on planet. Dynamic background, leave that all the same. And you can change all these different settings as well. You can also change the stack options, whether you want it in fit, PNG, or TIFF format. But we're just going to go ahead and analyze these frames real quick. Obviously, my opening did not work. So let me go to libraries. No desktop. Let's see, we had Jupiter. There you go. PIPP. And we switch this to AVI. No, sorry, fits files, so image files. There we go. It would be nice if there was a way to select all of these, but there's not, so we just kind of have to drag and drop. Obviously, it shouldn't take too long if you do it correctly. Okay, we have all of our files selected. We hit open, and then we analyze this by hitting open. I apologize, not the open button. We hit analyze. Okay, it has analyzed all of our images. Now, you don't want the quality graph to go below 50%. So we leave this here. Just drop it right where it hits the intersection right here in the middle. Do not let it go below that. And look at this number here. It says 1021. So number of frames to stack, we put 1021. And then you can change the amount of frames you want to stack. I'm going to leave it at 100, and I'm also going to add a 50. It will stack 100% of the frames and also 50% of the frames. You can hit enter here. That should be done. I'd like to sharpen
just a little bit, just to have it nice and clean. Obviously, you don't want to over sharpen it, so I'm just going to put it up to 55. Leave it in Jupyter, and you can also drizzle your image to make it a bit bigger, especially better for editing. Personally, I'm not going to do much processing after this, so I'm just going to leave it in PNG. Others who want to do processing later on can press the fit file. And after that, it's very easy. You press here, you make sure you place the AP grid. Usually it will work automatically very fine, but if not, it's very simple. You just go ahead and press on different parts of your object here. Definitely not on the background. I'll never ever click on the background, because that's always damaging to your image. You click there, and after that, you go ahead and press the stack button, and that will start to stack your image. And obviously, it's going to take a long time, so make sure you just leave your thing open. Make sure you have plenty of battery. I don't have a lot of battery left, so I have to go ahead and charge my laptop. So while it charges, it will stack all of these different files, and we will come back and I will show you guys the finished product using the ASI 662 and ASI 678. And I'm sure you guys will be very much impressed with what we can get for that. So please stay tuned until the end, and I will show you guys basically what I think so far. However, also about these cameras is that the amount of detail that we're able to get with them is very impressive. It's a very cheap camera. They're not expensive. ZWO, however, has done an incredible job, as always, in regards to their quality of their product. And I'm very excited in regards to what we are able to see in future projects as well. So, yes, let's see here. I believe I typed in the wrong number here. It should have been 1026. So let me try that again. 1026. There we go. And stack again. I did not realize I had made the mistake, so I do apologize. But yes, we will come back to once that is finished, and I will show you guys the final reveal of our finished projects. Yes, all 4 of these. So stay tuned for just 1 second. All right, so here comes the moment that we have all been waiting for. At least I have been waiting for. Finally, time to see the results of all of our hard work. So here's the little drum roll. Here is our first image of Jupiter from the ZWO ASI 662 camera. Let's take a look at it. Okay, so as you can see, it has a great amount of field of view, a great amount of detail. The sharpness on the Jupiter picture is actually quite impressive. Honestly, the post-processing did help a lot. Honestly, didn't really have to do a lot. Just ran it through the auto stacker and planetary imaging post-processor. It's a very simple process. Didn't even have to add any saturation, do any sharpening or anything on it. It just came out like this, and it looks absolutely amazing. And now it makes me curious about what the Saturn image looks like. So let's take a look at that. All right, here's the Saturn image from the ASI 662. Awesome image once again. The coloration, the saturation, the vibrance of the image, how sharp it is, how clean it is absolutely amazing. And honestly, I feel like if someone had a auto go-to telescope, they could get such an amazing image with this. But just the fact that we did this with a manual Dobsonian telescope, a 6-inch Dobsonian telescope, obviously with a wider aperture and a better focal length, of course, you could get an even better image than this. But imagine what you could do with an automatic go-to telescope. Now let's take a look at the ASI 678 images. Here's an image from Jupiter. Once again, absolutely beautiful image. It's very sharp, very clean. You can even see the little shadow, even though it's a smaller image, of course, but you can even see the shadow of Io on the surface of Jupiter. I did have to look it up to see what was in front of it, and that was in fact the Jupiter moon Io. So once again, very impressive image. I'm very happy with how that came out. And now let's take a look at the Saturn image. Once again, very nice image, of course. Again, smaller field of view, but if we were to use something like a Barlow lens, like a high quality Barlow lens, our image could come out absolutely amazing. But of course, both of these cameras are absolutely incredible. Make sure that if you are interested in getting a planetary camera, make sure that you check out the ZWO ASI cameras. They have a lot of different ones in regards to planetary that you could check out, see which one is the best fit for you and your telescope, and then you could go ahead and do some planetary imaging. Honestly, I have no negative things to say about it. Even the software on the computer is extremely easy to use.
So I do think that ZWO, of course, did another great job with their camera, hence why, of course, they did win the Camera of the Year award. I'm pretty sure I do recall seeing on one of their Instagram posts. Perhaps I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what I saw. So congratulations to ZWO. If you happen to watch this video, thank you very much for making an incredible product. It's absolutely wonderful. Anyone who's interested in checking it out, make sure you click the link in the description to go take a look at the cameras on the ZWO website. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you found it to be informative, and hopefully you were able to kind of follow along with the whole process that we did in regards to the ZWO software, auto stacker, and planetary imaging preprocessor, the programs on PC. Honestly, like I said, there was no post-processing I had to do in regards to saturation, definition, or even sharpness. So it all came out just like this. So I'm very happy with how it looks. Hopefully you guys are happy with how it looks, and hopefully you guys check this out later on in the future. So please leave a like and subscribe, and stay tuned for future content. Of course, it always helps the channel. So again, thank you for watching, and clear skies.